My favorite thing to say, to quote myself, is it's cool to do a deal with $0 out of pocket. Very cool to do a deal, $0 out of pocket. It is unethical to do a deal with $0 in your pocket. So number one, I'm looking for somebody who not only has the cash to close, but who can demonstrate that they have the cash to maintain even after closing. So even if there's no tenant, like I said, the ethical person is going to promise to make your payments, even if they don't have a tenant, even if they can't find a buyer for the property, even if they sell it and their buyer downstream doesn't make the seller finance payment to them, they're still going to make the mortgage payment for you.
Today, we have Caleb Christopher. He is a creative financing real estate specialist that is featured in Pace Morby's BiggerPockets book, Wealth Without Cash. He's got a background in law enforcement and cybersecurity. He focuses on risk management and ethical deal structuring. Caleb is the founder of Creative TC, DOS Guard, and Creative Title, where he specializes in closing complex real estate transactions. I am so thankful. Caleb, thank you so much for being here, and make yourself at home.
Thank you. It's an honor.
So one of the things that we try to focus on in Make Yourself at Home is how this focuses on everyday folks. And so you've got an interesting take on real estate that most people won't think about, and that's the creative financing piece. What do you think? Because most people would be scared to death about creative financing. So what do you think is the most misunderstood risk in creative financing deals?
They're going to edit out my silence while I try to get the right answer here. So I think it's pretty often misunderstood that you can just do stuff. The problem is you can. If you walk up to a whiteboard and it's got markers in front of it, you can draw whatever you want, but you don't have a map, a layout. And so with creative finance, I can draw whatever picture you want, but unless you're telling me what your objectives are, I'm not going to end up producing what you wanted. So the thing is, people think they can use creative finance as the tool. It's like a specialty tool that you try to go around a house. Maybe I'll start that over. The thing with creative finance is it's like a specialty tool. There's only specific tasks you need to do with it. But if you walk around with only a hammer in your hand, everything starts looking like a nail. That's the same thing with creative finance. People get this faddish obsession with creative finance. They just, because they want to have done a creative finance deal, buying it subject to somebody else's mortgage, selling or buying on seller finance. But honestly, creative finance is a specialty tool used in specific situations. It's not for everybody. It's not normal. It's weird. So understanding when it's best to use it is the key thing. And I think that's the key misunderstanding, is that because it exists, everybody can and should use it.
Yeah, it's like bringing a jackhammer to, as you said, a nail. It's not going to create the tool it's not going to create the result that you want. So not only investors, like I said, a regular consumer, what are some practical things, some questions that they should ask to see if specialized financing is something they should look into?
Sure. And let's just be clear on what we mean when I say creative finance. When I say that in real estate, and I own two companies that exclusively do that, it's if I'm going to buy your house, D.
Yeah.
And you've got a good interest rate, I'll pay you a little bit extra just to leave your loan in place, because I don't want to get a new loan with a 7% interest rate, for example. And so when we do something like that, it's creative, but your credit score is still tied to me making your payments. Is that what you really want?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, no, thanks. That makes sense. So that's the key thing, is make informed risk decisions. On the buyer side, the risk is way less, right? Because my credit's not on the line if I don't make your payments. And so what safeguards can we put into place to make sure and guarantee that I pay, or that if I don't, you've got enough cash to pursue a foreclosure or whatever else needs to happen there? How can we make this safe, legal, and ethical? Which is why I created Creative TC in the first place.
That's what a lot of people don't understand, is that there actually is assumable mortgages out there. There
Mhm.
are assumable mortgages out there. Now, most of them are governmentally backed.
Yep.
Not most of them, all of them are governmentally backed. So that means that they're FHA, VA, or USDA. To assume a VA loan, you actually have to be able to be eligible for those things. And most sellers get nervous because, as you said, your credit score is tied to somebody else making your payments, and or if you pay a large percentage up front. Let's just say I have a home, I've owned it for 5 years, it's worth twice as much, or 6 years, it's worth twice as much as when I bought it.
Yeah.
Somebody comes in and goes, I want your interest rate. You have a 3% interest rate. I would like something. I'll pay you less than what I can get now, which is on Friday, it was 6.25. I want to say it was 6.875 the other day. But okay, so I'll give you 5%, which means you're making 2% more, and I'm still saving money. But I'm going to give you this big lump sum. I'm going to lose that. I'm going to give you your equity, but your credit is still attached to this. Are you comfortable with that? How do we make that work? And that's where an attorney needs to come into this and make sure that there's some protections involved in that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got the picture on. You understand the value proposition, and now it needs to be an informed risk decision, yes or no. And I'm never going to tell somebody not to use an attorney. The thing is, I created my company because I couldn't find attorneys who were accessible and who understood this stuff,
Ah,
who could do it in time for closing. Because by the time I was finding things, by the time people started bringing me things, they had 2 weeks left to close.
okay.
And they need somebody who knows their stuff, who's been through it dozens, if not hundreds of times, who can say, did you ask this question? Did you talk about this arrangement? How are you going to handle the ongoing risk? What are your long-term plans for the property, much less your short-term? Are we holding on to this thing long-term? Is it a rental? Are you selling it to someone? So that's all important to cover. And I think one thing hovering in the minds of we're going to lose people if we're not. Why would somebody actually do this? Because all we're saying is like, hey, this sounds crazy. No one would do it.
Yeah.
So the situations that I see a lot of times are, let's look at the VA loan. That's the easiest example, and you can work backwards from there.
Sure.
They get 100% financing.
Yeah.
Okay, so no down payment. Not everybody knows that, but for veterans, they have this huge benefit. I love it. If you have to sell a house, like if you bought a house and 6 months later, you got orders to move from the East Coast to the West Coast, you're like, dang, I got to sell my house. How much is it going to cost somebody to sell a $500,000 house?
Yeah. And you have no equity that you've built up in 6 months.
Right. So you've got no equity. You're not going to get paid anything in your pocket for selling the house. And it's going to cost you, let's call it 6%, $30,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to write a check for $30,000 to sell my house.
Mhm.
That doesn't feel right. Then
Yeah.
some handsome guy shows up and says, you know what? How about you not pay $30,000? I like your interest rate. How about I pay you $5,000 or $10,000 cash to help cover your moving expenses or time and trouble, and I'll just take over your payments. Then you're number one, you're not paying 30 and you're getting another 10. That's $40,000 net effect to you. Does $40,000 sound good enough for me to start taking over your payments? You can go get another VA loan across the country as long as you haven't used up your full entitlement. But that's the value proposition. That's the scenario in which somebody starts thinking, $40,000, maybe it is worth letting somebody else make my payments.
Yeah. What are some practical systems that people should be putting into place to be able to do things like this?
Well, I think, again, before the show, we're looking for the consumer, the average Joe, the person like me before I knew about creative finance.
Yeah.
What would I tell me before I knew creative finance? I would say, get your regular loan, qualify for regular loans, buy houses. And if you're not going to be a landlord, you can still sell. So if I can qualify for a good interest rate, I can turn around and sell to somebody else who can't get as good of an interest rate. And I can sell at that higher interest rate. Like you talked in that technical example before, if I get a 3%, I can sell 5, 6, 7% interest to somebody else. And if they give me a big enough down payment that it's just like a bankroll that I don't touch so I can afford to foreclose if they don't pay me,
Yeah.
I'm in pretty good shape. And the thing when you sell versus when you rent, I don't have to fix toilets if I'm the seller.
True.
So if I could talk to Caleb 10 years ago, it is buy every house that you can, right? Get a consumer loan, move in, live in the house. After a year, start looking for your next property and just start doing this house to house and then resell to other people and mark up the interest rate. And you get hundreds of dollars per month per house or per loan that you're leveraging with no maintenance costs.
Yeah. So you mentioned that talked to Caleb 10 years ago. What got you where you're at now? How did you end up with creative financing? What started this?
I always liked creative problem solving. So this was right up my alley when I found it. Yeah. I had been doing creative finance solutions apparently before I knew that was a thing. Like the internet connection I'm on, not anymore. We have direct fiber to the home. But before, I moved out in the country and I had to have wireless point-to-point internet beamed to me. I didn't have line of sight to anywhere. I negotiated with somebody to get a second line of internet installed at a business, shot it up a hill to a telephone pole where I installed solar and wind power at the top of the pole to power a relay station, which caught the signal and sent it down to my house on the other side. And I had to negotiate that the farmer gets free high-speed internet. I had to negotiate something on the other end. And that's how I got high-speed internet to work from home. And so creative solutions were already what I do. And then I just found real estate and I was like, oh, I like this. And I really like helping people. So if you are one of those people who is in that situation, I got to move and I don't want to pay out, or I can't even pay out of pocket to do this. Now what? Here's how I can help you at least.
So you started in cybersecurity, which I'm assuming, again, that's that direct, that, one-to-one getting your internet to your business.
Yeah.
How does and you've said you're a problem solver. How does that cybersecurity shape the way that you go towards real estate?
I like teaching classes and I do a really good job whiteboarding. Okay. So it's the risk man. It's like, what is the structure and entity relationship diagram? So I'll draw a circle with Jim and Judy and the bank and the seller and the loan. And I start drawing lines and explaining things. And that's how we plan a network. That's how we plan a network attack. That's how we plan network defense. And so when I look at a real estate transaction with your typical thing, I go get a lender, right? And I apply to buy your house and my lender comes and makes the payment and I just pay that. That's the standard path. But when I've already done that and now I'm selling, now we've got new people and I need to qualify them. So how could a bad actor step in and do damage to me or them or the bank? And we look at that. And that's what I bring is that an analytical mindset, doing diagramming and whiteboarding you try to break things in even on cybersecurity defense, you try to break things on paper or in a safe environment. And you're like, okay, how can I stop that from happening ever in the future? How can we fail safely in practice rather than in production? And that's what I look at creative finance, because there's a lot of room, whether intentionally or unintentionally, for people to do each other dirty.
Yeah. It's always the what if scenario. So, my husband is my partner in my business and we're constant. He's always the, what if this happens? What if that happens? And so again, you're looking for that. How do we solve a problem before the problem shows up?
Mm-hmm. And that starts with paperwork too.
Yeah. If you're prepared, it doesn't shock you. What advice would you give to consumers or investors who are looking to build this kind of business or even to start this kind of business?
I would get into probably some creative finance real estate Facebook groups.
Okay.
And just see what sort of questions other people have. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Number one is start getting exposed to it. You can start seeing things. Just browse the groups and read the threads and go deep to learn what kind of problems are people having. Am I willing to have those sorts of problems? Is the benefit that I'm getting worth the problems that these people are facing? Because some people can't take it, right?
True.
We haven't even talked about the due on sale clause.
Yeah.
The due on sale clause allows a bank to accelerate the loan. If I bought your house subject to the loan and I'm making your payments, even if everything's good between us and the payments are being made, the bank, if they notice and if they care, they can say, no, pay us off. You're done with 30 days and pay off the remaining $440,000. And I'm like, that never goes away in a sub-2 deal. You've got to be able to handle that risk.
And that's a lot. What I talk about with my clients is, look, my comfort level, I negotiate all day long and I give people the worst scenario I've ever had. We did 14 back and forths with negotiating with someone. I said, but can your nerves handle that?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, when they're getting into this, especially when you deal with finances, it scares the absolute life out of people. Because most people don't have $440,000 sitting in a bank that they can just pay off a bank to.
And not to make a sales pitch, but that's why I created the second company. Everybody wanted, is there any insurance against due on sale? No, not technically, but I've fixed it before. So I've solved due on sale plenty of times, but I can't guarantee that outcome. So the DOS Guard was one of my solutions there. Is we've got specialists who specifically know how to talk to banks and turn these things around. But everybody still has to be willing to play ball and help out, sign updated paperwork, et cetera. So if at any time the seller and the buyer become adversarial, somebody's credit's going to get damaged and the house may go to auction if nobody can get along.
Correct. And that's one of the things is, so I got in 2008. So perfect timing for everything to go to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to pivot really quickly because I sat at more than 3 dozen family dining room tables crying with people because I'm like Dolly Parton, you don't cry alone. But I sat with these folks who signed into a mortgage not knowing that it could become 11% and that they couldn't afford 11%. And then what do we do? Because now the house isn't worth what they bought it for. We currently have a short sale now that I'm trying to negotiate with the bank. And the bank doesn't care. It's all about numbers. It doesn't matter to them as long as it meets their number criteria, and you have to be able to speak to them. And that's what most people, their tolerance level doesn't meet that. And that's the hard part. Where do you see, especially with everything going on right now, because we have a lot of folks that were literally in the middle of buying a home and their interest rate, thank God they had an interest rate lock, because now everything went from sub 6% to over 6%. And a lot of people are being pushed out with the Iran war and everything else. Where do you see creative financing and deal structuring heading in the next few years? I know you don't have a crystal ball. We all wish we did, but your educated guess.
I still think that the sub 2 is valuable because when prices go down and you have low or no equity, creative finance is the only solution so that you're not actively losing cash at close of escrow as a seller. As a buyer, you have opportunities. Most of these are going to be investor buyers. I'll be honest. I'm not recommending a regular consumer buy on creative finance. And I wouldn't recommend to a seller that they let a regular Joe be their buyer. Now, what I see often is that an investor is good at finding these deals and will buy from John Smith seller with a decent interest rate, or even if it's just taking over payments, as long as it can break even and it doesn't cost me much money to get into the deal. But that investor needs to be able to stand up and be ethical and make payments, even if it's not tenanted, even if they're their buyer. And so they'll stand in the middle and make these guarantees to the seller. I will, and this is what I've done. I will make your payments regardless of what else happens. Okay. I'm making this commitment to you.
Yeah.
And then I can turn around and sell it to a family. So you got the consumer and the consumer that are bookending me as the ethical investor in the middle. And I'm making sure that the original payments get made. It's my job to collect enough down payment from the other side and to hold it so I can make payments in the meantime if they don't, so I can pursue foreclosure if they don't make payments, etc. But this person's credit and the payments should never not be made. And that's where consumer to consumer is just probably not a fit.
Now, we've been seeing a lot of this come into the market over the last 3 years. So you said Caleb's been doing this for 10 years. We've actually seen an increase in this. And it was what we've heard a lot of people call them industry disruptors, Airbnb, Uber, all of that. So in fact, as a real estate agent, I have homeowners who've owned their home 3-5 years. They've got an interest rate that's sub 5 or 5.25. I'm seeing a lot of these guys that are like, we just want to rent your home. We're going to give you your equity. You get to go and buy another house because you sold your house to us, but we're actually putting a tenant in it, renting it for 5 years or 7 years. And then the turn is that what we're seeing is that there, when you sell in 7 years, that you're actually paying the seller again, and they offer them a small percentage. Usually it's 5% or something along
Sure.
that line. Then that way they're holding the mortgage. Are you in that creative financing space as well? Okay.
Yes. So I own 4 rentals. I have a sub 2 deal in Colorado that I bought. I've got a 0% seller finance deal in Georgia. I can't remember what city. Macon. So
Yes.
I've got deals. I do deals, but through my companies, I see and touch dozens of deals every single month. So if you can name it, I've probably done it. It's pretty unlikely that I haven't touched whatever deal types in your head.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying as real estate agents. We try to present every offer that comes in. And because if the seller can't get comfortable with it, it's never going to happen. So is there something as a real estate agent that I can help them get comfortable with this idea? Is there a way that I can explain it to them other than what I just explained to you? How can I help them bridge the gap between, say, somebody like you and a consumer?
I would say that's why I created my company, because I don't see any other bridges.
Okay.
Creative TC is a consulting firm. It's creative transaction consulting. And so
Mhm.
if you've got offers, I've got free 15-minute chats, right? There's these rocky shores that people's ships are going to crash on. And I'm like, let me build a lighthouse, please. Because I got in and I saw, like I said, it's pretty easy for people unintentionally to do each other dirty, much less with bad actors involved who do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let me stand up a lighthouse and blow the foghorn and say, hey, you can navigate this area safely, but stay back until you see the path. And let's find a way to do this safely. So free consults, because I want to help the industry.
And that's one of the things that when I read about you, that is one of my mission statements. I want to make our industry better. With every transaction, I want to make our industry a little bit better. What separates an ethical, well-structured, creative finance deal from a risky one?
My favorite thing to say, to quote myself, is it's cool to do a deal with $0 out of pocket. Very cool to do a deal, $0 out of pocket. It is unethical to do a deal with $0 in your pocket.
Okay.
Okay, so number one, I'm looking for somebody who not only has the cash to close, but who can demonstrate that they have the cash to maintain even after closing. So even if there's no tenant, like I said, the ethical person is going to promise to make your payments, even if they don't have a tenant, even if they can't find a buyer for the property, even if they sell it and their buyer downstream doesn't make the seller finance payment to them, they're still going to make the mortgage payment for you. That's step number one, is you have to be able to trust that person to honor their word and be able, and not only just be an honorable person who does what they say, but also has the financial ability to make those payments every month.
So just like having to qualify for a mortgage, you want to make sure that your investor can qualify as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like not having loans on my credit, but that's not why I do the deals. I like helping people. I like special interest rates. I walked my Pueblo, Colorado deal. I walked into that because there was no equity. In fact, I mean, it hadn't sold on the market for 6 months, right? It was an expired listing. And somebody said, can you please help these people? I called them. They already bought a second house. They were promised by their realtor that they could sell, such as life. They couldn't. And now they're making 2 house payments and they're not willing to rent it out. So the cash offer won't work because you have to buy at a discount if you're doing a cash for an investment property. The loan is what's owed on it. Like you're not going to sell it for any less than what's owed. They're not willing to come out of pocket anymore. And I said, if you paid me $200 a month for 2 years, I would take this property because it won't rent for what it needs to. It's going to lose money. That was their best offer. And I walked in with zero cash out of pocket into the deal, but I showed them, here's my credit score. Here's an example of my rental. And when a tenant didn't pay for 6 months, I never missed my payment. I will not miss your payment. And ever since, I've kept it as a rental, and it sat vacant for months and I had to make that monthly payment, but their credit is good because of me.
How can investors ensure accountability and long-term stability in their transactions? So what do you look for? Just like you said, you proved you could make 6 months worth of payments
Yeah.
without anything. So how can your investors come to the table with that same security?
The investor buyer is the one you really want to be checking.
Okay.
It's more like how let me reframe the question. I think, how can a seller, a regular person, an agent install or make sure there's security from their buyer, from the investor who claims to be doing this stuff?
Yes.
There's going to be some character reference, right? It's just like a job application or a tenant application. You need to evaluate the person and their finances. And a lot of people slinging creative options have no money in their pocket. And it's like, all right, I would say yes to this if you had cash in your pocket, but you don't send me a fake proof of funds. I don't believe you. What assets do you actually have? You've got people living in apartments that are slinging homes left and right with no cash in the bank. You're not the person I should be dealing with.
That was one of the things, God, what was it? When HGTV exploded and we started seeing all of these seminars coming out, it's like you could wholesale properties. And I sat with people at their dining room table and they're like, I put my life savings in this. And so who do you have that's a wholesaler? And I kept seeing all of these people get taken just because they had these HGTV people, that they seen in their living room every single day on the boob tube telling them that they could do this. Are you old enough to remember Carlton Sheets? The whole Carlton Sheets system, buy a house with no money? Yeah.
I'm aware of it, but I wasn't around for it.
Yeah, and it's that same, like here's your dynamic. It was my mother-in-law's ex-husband got caught in on that. That he bought a whole bunch of homes that he couldn't rent. And that every time somebody moved out, it was $10,000 to get the house back up to livable quality. That'll drain you in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Your profit from 2 years of renting the property disappears like that.
Yeah. How have you built your business that's 100% remote with a global team?
We operate on Zoom. I don't need an office, right? Because these deals happen all over the place. I'm so niche that if I set up an office, it would be a waste.
Yeah.
We have also the level of smartness of people that I have to hire. I can't afford in the US, honestly. So for me to help the industry and do good, I can do good for other people. And I've chosen South Africa. They speak beautiful English. I love the accent. Most of our customers love the accent.
Oh, yeah.
I used to work for a British soccer company, and that was part of the sales. Was it that the silent benefit is Americans love the accent. And so I chose an accent that was beautiful, that doesn't get in the way of communication, et cetera. And the South Africans, they love working hard. They love the opportunity. They love working from home, and they've got families. And I'm hiring people who are caring for families and who get to stay home with their kids, and they work in a remote office. They take client facing calls. You jump into Zoom. We've got 17 breakout rooms. And so if you went to my website to do one of the free consults, you can click a button and just join my Zoom right now. And somebody's going to say, hey, welcome to Creative TC. Do you have an appointment, or can I help you talk to somebody? And we'll just put you in a room with somebody to chat. So
it's no different than having brick and mortar and somebody walking in off the street, especially if you can jump on a Zoom immediately.
We have a receptionist. We call it lobby duty. Somebody's on lobby duty. That's where they work from. And if you popped into the Zoom, they would stop what they're doing and say, hi, Dee, how can I help you?
What advantages have you found from leveraging your talent from different countries? As you said, everybody loves the accent. So what other advantages do you see besides just the accent?
Again, I don't think my business model is viable if I have to pay U.S. rates for some of the labor. And if I'm on a mission to make creative finance real estate safe, legal, and ethical, then that's the model I have to do. Now, I haven't chosen the cheapest people. I'm definitely not choosing the most expensive, but I've got college educated people with 5, 10, 15 years of real world job experience before they come to me. And I'm choosing for soft skills and alignment with core values. And then I can train the technical. And that's how we approach that.
One of the things about anything we do is how we communicate with other folks. What does communication clarity and documentation discipline, because in this industry, you have to have the paper to go behind it. How does that play a role in scaling your company and what you're doing?
I'm the police when it comes to documentation. I'm the grammar police and all the other stuff. So I was the right guy for that job. I correct attorneys. I have attorneys and closing title companies that use my docs because they're just better. And I'm not an attorney. I'm not a licensed anything. I'm just some guy who likes to read and has a very black and white interpretation of what's perfect and what's right. That benefits a lot of people. So I'm the guy who's in charge of that naming convention, the file structure. I got my IT and cybersecurity. But the other piece, what was the other piece of that question?
So not only communication clarity, but yeah.
So communication clarity, and this is what I said with the soft skills, what we train is BLUF and witness. And when you communicate, bottom line up front, BLUF. So typically, and the way I train my people is, hey, type out your email. You got 3-4 paragraphs. Whatever that thing at the end is, the one-liner at the end, just write your email like normal, then cut that and paste it at the top. Bottom line up front. Literally, it's amazing. You don't have to think bottom line up front. You talk. What we tend to do is context. Here's our main point. Okay, do it the other way around. Write it, move it, and then when somebody reads their message or when I get the email in my inbox, I see it's from Caleb and I see you need to do X. Okay, cool. Even if I don't read the message, I see what the point is. And it doesn't go in the backlog in my mind like I'll read that email from Caleb later because I know it's important. I just don't know what it's about. Bottom line up front, baby. Let's talk about it. So we start with bottom line up front. That's the communication clarity. And the other piece is witness. The little part at the bottom where you cut your bottom line out and moved it to the top. Now you're going to add in, what is the next step? WITNS. And that looks like I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow if I haven't heard back. Okay, so what happens? I'm going to follow up with you if you haven't done what I asked you to do, right? Or action is still on me to follow up with the title company or the realtor or the seller. I'll let you know within 2 hours, 2 days, by the end of the week. So some sort of time-bound commitment and who's the action on. And sometimes that's a few bullet points, right? I need this from you. I'm still seeking this from them. If I don't get those things, I will follow up tomorrow.
I think that was an amazing piece because how many times have we gotten an email and we skim and we miss the piece? Like I've done it where I was like, please don't share this email. And it's because it has everything in it. I missed that one line and off it went. So I'm extremely detail oriented at the point where I try to make sure that everybody feels value and heard when you're getting these. But I love this bottom line up front. That way people not only, how many times when we were going through school, they were like, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And that's how you're supposed to explain everything, where you're repeating yourself 3 times. But how many emails do we get that are so fluffy that we end up missing the entire point? And by putting your point up front and then giving them all of the work or the things underneath it, you're doing that. And that way they don't miss the point.
And I had to untrain politeness. My South Africans, they're so polite, which I love. And we get along really well, but they're like, hi, how are you? I hope your day is going well. And some other 2 lines of stuff before they get, and I'm like, cut all of that out.
Yeah.
I love you guys, but stop that, because guess who our clients are? Most of my clients they have a full-time job and they're buying and selling real estate on top. And so in the middle of the day, they're not going to read that. It just gets in the way. And so I had to untrain some of that extra politeness. And I'm like, on the phone, do it. On emails, don't.
And that when you're thinking about it, all right, so what, like I said, what's the one resource that you don't ever get back? No matter what you put in, you don't ever get back time. And by cutting those lines out, you're saving time, which is being able to say hello to your child. You get one more hug, you get one more, and that's where I think about people and the time that they invest.
You remember that episode from The Office where Kevin starts talking short sentences?
Yeah.
Why say mini word when short word do trick?
Yeah. Take everything out. Yeah. All right. So we've seen that you are completely value driven, and we greatly appreciate how you're putting that together. But how do your core values lead? So you have something called table framework. Explain to, because number one, I've already learned about BLUF.
Eh,
I'm loving this. So what is table framework?
So it's our core values, and I agonize over core values. They take me weeks. And I develop core values by looking at people that I like and I dislike.
Yeah.
If you dislike somebody, it's because there's something about them, what they do, who they are, how they operate, the decisions they make, the way, whatever they do. There's something that violates one of your principles. Okay, so work backwards into what is it that, what principle is violated by that person that causes me not to like them? So I tend to back into things because I know how I feel. And if I can go backwards from how I feel about someone to finding out what my core values are, I think a lot of people try to choose core values that have this high and lofty status, like ideals,
Yeah.
as opposed to what are your actual values, right?
Yeah.
So I work backwards, and it spells table at Creative TC. Now, to be fair, I think it's better core values than a lot of people have, but that's version 1, and my title company has better ones. But it's take initiative and be resourceful. I like something you can spell, right? It's easier to remember.
Yep.
Take initiative and be resourceful. Advocate for the client. Be relatable. Lead with value, and exhibit attention to detail. Now, the reason I say that's version 1 is because that was a stretch. I had to choose certain words, and they're almost sentences per core value.
Yeah.
Version 2, generation 2, is at my title company, and that one spells score. And I'm more excited about this one because the format is I'm going to tell you the value, I tell you some context, and I tell you what to do about it. So, speed, time kills all deals, act with urgency. That's
Okay.
a lot more valuable version of core values, in my opinion. And I was really excited to develop that. The next one. So we got speed, we got care. Deals involve real people. Act accordingly. O is objectivity. Pressure distorts judgment. Decide with facts. And my favorite thing about that is those 3 balance each other out. I have to hire adults. I have to hire people with good judgment.
Yeah.
Right? We have tasks, but we really need to be outcomes oriented, is what I call it. And I run businesses where I need people with independent reasoning, not people who just follow a task list. So the balance between speed, care, and objectivity, if you're too speedy, you're not going to care and you're not going to be objective. If you're too caring, you're not going to be fast or you're not going to be objective. If you're too objective, you're going to be slow and rude. So there's a balance to strike there. And that's just 3 of the 5. But I like that format with the core values. And when I choose people who align with core values, I can train them on the technical stuff because, like I said, 60% of the work is the soft skills. It's alignment with core values. The rest of it is the technical.
All right. So I know everybody's going to be dying. What are the R and E?
I was wondering. R is resourcefulness. So just like at the first one, take initiative and be resourceful. This one's resourcefulness, but it says they're a given. Find a way to get it done. So this combats the concept where somebody's, this came up. Yeah, duh, that's going to happen. You're in title. You're in real estate. You're going to have objectives or objections and obstacles.
Yep.
How do you go around it? How do you get over it? I don't care that the problem exists. I knew some problem would exist. Now we know what it is. So get it done, dude. Calm down.
Yeah.
So that's resourcefulness. And then E is excellence. Average is not good enough. Set the standard.
Ah. I have to admit, I absolutely adore these because the resourcefulness, I tell people every single day, everything's figure outable.
Yeah.
Everything is figure outable. When you work in real estate, I don't know what it is about this industry, but a lot of us they have animosity to each other, adversarial. The real estate is a team sport. I can't do this without you. You can't do this without me. I promise you, at some point, because I'm a human being, my emotions are going to get in on this. Your emotions are going to get on this. But I will tell you this, the moment that I realize that, something else is coming into play, time out. I'm getting me involved. This has nothing to do with me or you. This is them. Let's go back to the drawing board. Because a lot of times we'll hear agents tell us, oh, my seller won't accept that. I don't know. Have you asked? If you don't ask, you don't know. Mm-hmm. But they get their dander up. So I'm constantly telling people, you'll never have to deal with that with me. This is a team sport. Now, I expect you to get your toes hurt, get your toes stepped on. You're going to get your feelings hurt. I apologize up front for that. I do insert foot into mouth periodically.
Your mouth.
Yeah, I don't mean to, but
No,
I
yeah.
am human. I do that with my husband. I mean, how many times have you said something and your wife went, oh, and you were like, there are two ways to take that. I meant the good way, not that way. Because we're human. So we constantly have to remember that we can always, if we work together, we can always figure it out. But I love the set the standard because it's my standard. How do you apply these values first approach whenever you're facing decisions? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but
yeah, you got to pick the right people too. So
yeah.
People you can hold accountable to it. So it starts with picking the right people and making sure they're aligned in the first place, which is an interview process. It's getting to know them. Then as things develop, our quarterly reviews, the primary thing we're looking at is, do you align with core values? Primarily yes, sometimes, or no. And if it's a no, you can't stay on the team. Like you'll get an opportunity to fix it, but generally it's who you are. So if your core values, if your actions don't align with our core values, you're just not a fit. And so hiring the right people, ejecting those who can't align.
Yeah.
And the rest of it comes down on a day-to-day basis when somebody's, hey, I found this problem. I don't know what to do about it. Okay, tell me what you think a solution is. Or they're like, now they've gotten better at, I think I found a solution, but I've got this dilemma. There's 3 different ways to do it. What's the closest to core values? What do you mean? I'm like, speed, care, objectivity. Where's the balance in this?
Yeah.
You're being resourceful because we found things that we expected to, and you've found 3 solutions to a problem. So thumbs up on that. But I empower my team, and a part of my hiring process includes a video once they come on board that says, if you are doing core values, I've got your back. The customer is not always right. Our core values are what's right. They are our North Star. And if you are acting in accordance with core values and you make a mistake or we're wrong or something, that's my issue. I own the company. I'll own that issue. I've got your back. And so I expect you to exercise good judgment. I expect you to look at core values on a day-to-day basis and look at your actions and your options from that lens.
This has been amazing. I am so very thankful, Caleb, that you have gone through, and like I said, I've already taken I always take notes every time I sit down with somebody because I always try to learn something from these. And one of the things that I've been quite impressed with was how you put your company together and the skill and the talent that you have put into how you work. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. The only other piece that I have is you got into this strategic part of where we're at in real estate. Based on what you're seeing, do you see more of this coming, or do you think it's going to end up becoming less?
It's becoming mainstream. Mainstream is probably it's still weird, but I see plenty of it. There's plenty of opportunity for creative finance.
So like I said, I got in 2008 and we knew that short sales were going to be the future, at least and I was thinking at least 4 to 5 years. And that's what it tended it to be. About 2013 is where we started seeing less and less foreclosures happening because people were becoming solvent again.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing is as we're coming forward, we're getting ready. Everybody was concerned about inflation and everything, but as the future is coming forward, we're seeing more and more of the changes in financing and the changes in people's structuring that I see more and more of this coming to light. It's as much of a crystal ball as we have.
Yeah. Short sales versus sub 2, they're both valid options in a given scenario.
Caleb, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate you. You have been an amazing guest. And again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. You're a fantastic host. Good questions.
Thanks for joining me on Make Yourself at Home. I hope you found insights and inspiration to help you navigate your real estate journey with confidence. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show with your friends because everyone deserves to feel at home. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep making moves that matter.